Well, if you want to come right here.
Yeah, I'll come to you, or I can just speak here. I'm fine.
And the microphone's right here, and you can just pick it up. Or if you want to turn that one on at the brown thing and
it to the side.
talk, well, we need to kind of leave it there because we don't want to pull the wires. So just grab this guy. Are you going to speak from back here? Okay. And nobody else is going to speak, right? He'll just come up here because I have this microphone if they need it. Okay. Hello, sweetheart.
A couple of days pregnant.
My sister-in-law set up a trip for us to go to Florida.
We're going to begin the meeting with special acknowledgments. Captain Moyer.
Chairman Miller, members of the board, it is my pleasure to present to you Officer Stephen Galletta for promotion to the rank of corporal tonight. Steve, if you would step forward. You have your family step up with you if you want. Corporal Galletta is a 9-year veteran of the police department. Prior to being hired in Tredyffrin Township, he served as an officer in the city of Coatesville. Corporal Galletta is a 2008 graduate of Westchester University, where he earned a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and a 2009 graduate of the Delaware County Police Academy. Corporal Galletta serves as the Department Defensive Tactics OC and baton instructor, which by its very nature is quite a responsibility. Corporal Galletta has attended and obtained numerous certifications throughout his career, most notably in Gracie survival tactics, crime scene procedures, and de-escalation techniques. Corporal Galletta also serves as one of the department's field training officers. Tonight he is joined by his wife Beth, daughter Eleanor, and sons Stephen and Jameson. And Beth, if you want to pin his, well, he already had it on, pin his new badge on. And try and keep it just within the shirt. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Now we have the 2023 Library Hero Award, Anthony Ferris.
Oh, okay.
So actually, the township runs on volunteer power, and we appreciate all of those who volunteer for the township. And the library every year awards a Library Hero Award for someone who has particularly contributed to the library, and in this case, Judy DiFilippo has really helped with being the chair of the Golf Classic, which is a major part of the fundraising for the library. Now, nominally, that's what the award is for, but Judy has done a lot for the township over the years in many different ways, in many different roles, and I couldn't possibly speak to all of those, but I'd like to express my appreciation and turn it over to Anthony, and if Carlotta would like to say a few words as the liaison to the Library Foundation, please go ahead.
As my role now in the Library Foundation, I also knew from Julie prior, when I wasn't here and not on it, and she's always been very helpful when I've been in the library. If I needed something, she was always right there, and I truly, truly think this is a wonderful award that you are getting, and I appreciate everything that you do, and I hope that you will continue, since I am now part of the Library Foundation, to keep working and help with other golf outings that we're planning on. So I thank you, and I wish you very well with this.
Thank you, Chairman Miller, supervisors, and members of the public here. The Tredyffrin Libraries, as a former president of the Tredyffrin Township Libraries, I'm presenting the award each year to a volunteer who's shown exceptional dedication to the community through their advocacy, dedication, and support for the Tredyffrin Township Libraries. This winner is no stranger to Tredyffrin Township. She's no stranger to this room, this building, and the greater community. So if you'll indulge me for just a moment, I'd really like to honor Judy for a lifetime of commitment to the community. So as Library Hero, she chaired our foundation annual golf classic for 22 and 23. She helped raise over $40,000 for the foundation, for the library. And yeah, yay, thank you. Some of you know, and some of you may not know, Judy served as a Tredyffrin Township Supervisor for 20 years, from 1990 to 2010. 6 years as chair, 4 as vice chair. She, as I said, knows this building as she oversaw the construction of this beautiful new township building. There's a plaque right outside the front door that bears her name as well to commemorate her involvement in the construction of this building. That beautiful park we have up the street, Wilson Farm Park, well, that was a personal mission and passion of Judy, and it wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Judy DiFilippo. And there's a gazebo there near the sports fields. I think it has a red roof, red or green, I can't remember. But it is the Judy DiFilippo gazebo. So there's a rock with a plaque with her name on it there to acknowledge that. She was a member of the Chester County Planning Commission for 16 years, 10 as chair or vice chair. 2007 was a big year for Judy. She was chair of the Chester County Planning Commission, president of the Chester County Association of Township Officials. She was actually the first woman or female to be elected to that position, and I don't think a female's held it since, right? She was chairman of the Board of Supervisors of Tredyffrin. She was co-chair of the Tredyffrin 300 committee, which celebrated Tredyffrin's 300th anniversary. She produced a calendar that was a fundraiser for the township. She oversaw the expansion and renovation of the Stratford Library. Mind you, this was all in 2007. So let's just say she did not babysit her granddaughters very much that year. But many people may not know Judy was the first family, Judy and Luigi were the first family to move, fourth family to move into Chesterbrook, all of Chesterbrook, into Green Hills. She went on to produce the very first Chesterbrook newsletter. She even had a local cable television show called FYI, which was before YouTube and the internet and cell phones and all that stuff. And it was talking about township events and goings-ons and all the different boards in the community. And so, yeah, she was doing all that back then. If you know the Dupertai house down in Chesterbrook, Judy and Luigi personally restored the Dupertai and the caretaker's cottage. They're the largest monetary donator to the Jones Log Barn, which is part of the Tredyffrin Historic Preservation Trust. And so they wanted to ensure that that got built in their lifetime. So they contributed significantly to that. Let's see, she's also been a board member of the Mainline School Night for 5 years. She served as the judge of elections for her voting precinct here in Tredyffrin for the past, 4 election cycles or so? Something like that. let's see, she's a former member of the Chester County Women's Commission and served in the Chester County Open Space Advisory Committee. So we all choose to live in this wonderful community, and we're fortunate to do so. And we have such amazing amenities, like, even the Vanguard campus. Judy was at the groundbreaking with John Bogle of that Vanguard headquarter campus. Things that we all enjoy today, she helped shape. So please, all of you join me in expressing our gratitude, but not only on behalf of the Tredyffrin Township Libraries, but the township and the broader community for Judy DiFilippo. Thank you.
Anthony, we're going to get a picture.
If I could just say a few words of thanks. All of those accomplishments weren't done just by one person. I worked with several wonderful people when I was on the board. I was on the Chester County Planning Commission, and I was on the Association of Township Officials. You don't work alone, and you work with wonderful people. And I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity, because of my position on the Township Board of Supervisors, to have experienced all of that wonderful life, I guess. And so I would like to thank you for this honor, thank the Library Board and the Library Foundation. They do wonderful work. It's a wonderful facility, and I thank the board for their continued support of those facilities as well. It's a great asset for the Tredyffrin community, and I thank you again very much for this great work.
Well, it's tough to just continue the meeting after that, but thank you and congratulations. I want to call to order the public hearing for H.R. 480. Public hearing to consider the possible adoption of ordinance H.R. 480 and ordinance implementing Act 57 of 2022 to provide certain property tax penalty waivers. Mr. McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have marked the following board exhibits for the hearing this evening. Board Exhibit 1 is the proof of publication of the notice of the hearing in the Daily Local News on January 29th, 2024. Board Exhibit 2 is the proof of publication of the notice of the hearing from the Mainline Times Suburban, also from January 29th, 2024. Board Exhibit 3 is a copy of the email and distribution list to those who wish to receive public hearing notifications, which was sent on February 14th, 2024. And Board Exhibit 4 is a copy of the ordinance itself. Those are the exhibits for the hearing this evening.
I have a motion to consider the ordinance, adopting the ordinance.
So moved.
A
Second.
Thank you. Any public comment? This is a roll call vote. Supervisor Humble.
Aye.
Supervisor Holt.
Aye.
Supervisor Gussie.
Aye.
Mr. Wysocki, or Supervisor Wysocki.
Aye.
Supervisor Bhaskar.
Aye.
And Supervisor Johnson Pugh.
Aye.
And I vote aye. That concludes the public hearing. We're going to announcements. As a reminder, for any property owners to submit their annual stormwater inspection reports to the engineering department by April 1st. There are vacancies on the Environmental Advisory Council, Library Board of Trustees, Park and Rec Board, Planning Commission, and Zoning Hearing Board. If you wish to volunteer, please send a letter of interest and a brief resume to tredyffrin@tredyffrin.org. Next action is to approve the minutes. I need a motion to approve the minutes from the January 16th 2024 public meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any comments? Any public comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Now we move on to township business. The board met in executive session prior to this meeting to discuss legal and personnel matters. We'll go to supervisor liaison reports. We'll start with Supervisor Humble.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First is the Parks and Rec Board meeting. The board meeting was Wednesday, February 14th at 7 p.m. here in the Township building. All the old business considered was the regular reports that we received, as well as the Devon Stratford Little League's plans for skinning one of their fields over at Tea Garden Park. One of the matters discussed at past meetings that I did want to bring up to ask if we can pass it is that as goes the rise in matters happening at Tea Garden Park regarding the off-leash dogs, the police department has informed us that it's easier for them to write tickets if they have a specific ticket book dedicated to writing these types of offenses, mainly because the ones they have right now are summary offenses that go for $1,000 each, and that to write one for less than that means it would have to go for the hearing. So at some point we would like to bring that before the board for approval. It's really a very small matter. It's more of a budgetary item for the police department to get these separate citation books printed so that they can have greater ease and efficiency in writing tickets to persons who have their dogs off leash or if their dogs are causing problems at the park. The next meeting of Parks and Rec Board will be on the second Wednesday of the month, March 13th at 7 p.m. I also have a report for the Planning Commission. I filled in for Murph Wazaki, who was out of town at the time. The Planning Commission met on Thursday, February 15th at 7 p.m. here in the Township building. There were really 3 issues up. One was an old business matter pertaining to sewer planning module at 311 South Valley Forge Road. There was not a quorum present to vote on the matter, so that did not occur, and it's been continued to the next meeting. However, the board did hear commentary from 3 area residents about the module. 2 of them lived in Easttown and they were concerned about how it might affect them. And then another one was from South Valley Forge Road, said she lives next to 5 townhouses. She was very concerned about the traffic, the noise, all of it ruining basically the flavor of the neighborhood, and she violently protested this approval. The applicant was not present at the meeting, so the interested residents were not able to get answers from them at that time. The second issue was an old business matter that pertained to development at 105 Vincent Road. This is a matter in which there is a very large lot that the applicant, the Ropal Company, wants to subdivide into 3 lots to build 3 custom homes. This area is bounded by Bear Hill Road, that's 252, to the east, Vincent Road on its west, and Central Avenue on its south. On its north is another property. This is basically a small forest that's in there right now with some very steep slopes. One of the things that seem not to have happened yet is that most of the neighbors had not been informed about this. The information we received was that the developer has only spoken to the neighbor immediately north of this lot, and that was regarding expansion and them putting in a fence. Aaron, please add to or correct me if I'm wrong. They were advised to get in touch with the neighbors and ask. They were also advised that a traffic study should be done in the event that this is going to increase traffic at that intersection of Central Avenue, where it comes to 252, it's Friendship Drive on the other side. So this was not decided yet. There was a lot of other discussion about it. And one of the questions that came up was whether or not this land had been dedicated restricted. There's a restrictive covenant in 1955 that would restrict any development of the property in the event that this lot was placed there specifically for stormwater remediation. So that matter is still pending. Second item that came up was the TESD sports fields. The board gave update or received update from Aaron McPherson about the TESD sports fields development, where they are. It's going to be turf fields, a field house, stadium lights, and such. They did suggest that a traffic study need to be done. I believe that was done, in fact, and they were all set for how they need to do new striping and new signs, and if there needed to be any lighting. So it's gone through stormwater review, and otherwise I think the project will start perhaps in the next month. So Aaron, if there's anything you wanted to add, detail or extra color.
Just wanted to add, we did send notices out. We send notices out to all land development projects, similar to zoning, where it's 500 feet of the property. We just have not heard any feedback from residents, so we do notify them that there is an application pending.
Yeah, yes, the developer hadn't reached out, but the township has. Thank you very much for that there. So the third update I would have is on the school board. As many people already know, and as we updated last time, the school board is in a due diligence phase of looking at a property along 252 Bear Hill Road. It's in between, not bounded by Howellville Road, but it's in between Howellville and where Cassatt goes up for a 6th elementary school. The plan would be to use existing building and space there to develop it out to be appropriate for an elementary school. This would therefore mean that neither the property on Jefferson Road in Chesterbrook nor the property in Easttown over by the Easttown Library would be used for an elementary school. Additionally, the spring sports are starting to step up. People may be seeing more activity at Tea Garden Park with the lights. I know the neighbors often like to be informed about this. The rugby teams are meeting back there, and they will be for about another month until they can move over to the fields by Easttown Library. What else? I guess that's all I have right now for the different teams and what's going on. So I do know that the Snow Ski Club is leaving for Killington, Vermont on Friday. So we hope they all have a great trip. And that's all I have. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor Humble. Supervisor Holt.
The Municipal Authority met on January 23rd for their 2024 organizational meeting. They elected their officers with Mike Heberg as chair, Charles Bennett vice chair, Sam Becker secretary, Stanford Nishikawa as treasurer. They also appointed Gotthard Greenwood as a solicitor and Brown and Caldwell as consulting engineers. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Holt. Supervisor Gussie.
I do not have any reports tonight.
Well, thank you. Supervisor Wysocki.
Chairman Miller, I don't have any reports tonight, but I'd like to thank Supervisor Basker for taking the January Planning Commission for me as I was away, and also Supervisor Humble for taking the February meeting as I was away during that time also. And I'd also like to thank you, Chairman Miller, for taking the February pension trustees meeting for me as I was away during that time of that meeting. So thank you, everyone.
Happy to help out. I think we all work together. Supervisor Basker.
Thank you, Chair Miller. So as Supervisor Wysocki noted, I attended the Planning Commission meeting on January 18th. And at that meeting, Scott Gowney and Dave Thomas were elected chair and vice chair, respectively, Also, the Planning Commission approved its 2023 report to send to the supervisors, as well as to accept the Act 587 special study and send that also to the Board of Supervisors. That's on the agenda for later today. And the next meeting will be on, and by the way, as Supervisor Humble noted, there was a Planning Commission meeting on February 15th. The next meeting of the Planning Commission will be on Thursday, March 21st at 7 p.m. Moving on to the Environmental Advisory Council, I'd first like to make a motion to appoint Associate Member Suzanne Hay to be a regular member of the EAC, filling in for the rest of the term of Member Rutger Burba. So I'd like to make a motion.
I would like to second that.
So
Any comment from anyone? From the public? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries enthusiastically.
Thank you. And then moving on to there's an item on the agenda that says motion to reappoint associate EAC members. That is actually not necessary because the Board of Supervisors don't appoint the associate members of the EAC. The EAC itself appoints the associate members. So I'd like to thank them for the service, but we don't have an item here. But I would like to briefly summarize the EAC meeting on January 23rd and with a few highlights. Amber Levy was elected as the Vice Chair, and she was the Chair last year, and she will be giving a presentation later today on 2023 activities of the EAC. Jennifer Cox was elected as Secretary. Rutger Burba stepped down from the EAC, and she intends to stay involved with activities like the Rain Garden Program. So the EAC thanked her for her volunteerism and service to the community, and I'd like to express my thanks as well. On Friday, April 19th and April 20th, the EAC plans tree planting activities in Wilson Farm Park, in the Swale area and along the walking trail. That's to go with Earth Day. Moving on, Haverford College Environmental Studies students of the EAC Chair, Dr. Jonathan Wilson, will present their results on Krabby Creek monitoring to the EAC at its next meeting, which will be on Tuesday, February 27th. If you're interested, please do join us, and depending on how it goes, we may actually have them come and present to the Board of Supervisors as well at a future meeting. There was also discussion about dates for the EAC's 2024 Roots Festival, as the fall calendar can be quite busy. There's no resolution yet. And I will note that there are a couple of interesting articles from the EAC in the Township's Winter 2024 newsletter. And there was also a very informative article by Director of Planning and Zoning, Erin McPherson, on the Woodland Conservation Ordinance. So please do read those articles. And the next meeting of the EAC will be a week from today, as I'd noted. With that, thank you, Chair Miller.
Thank you, Supervisor Bhaskar. Supervisor Johnson-Pugh.
The first one I would like to talk about is the Library Foundation. They had their meeting on February the 13th, which we had a Zoom meeting, and we talked about the golf outing, which is going to change somewhat. Instead of having it at a country club, it's going to be done through the library. It's going to have a mini golf inside in the library. Tentatively, the days are November the 1st and 2nd. That weekend, there will be more information coming as we get it set up, but I think it will be fun. We're going to have it where on Saturday evening, it'll be for adults. They'll be able to come. We're going to have food and just make it a really good time. We're also going to have it set up for the younger people during the day where they can come, and we're going to try to have 18 holes of golf all through the library, upstairs, downstairs, on the steps, and we think it'll be a fun addition that will also get people to come into the library and see what the library is about. So I'll be bringing more information to that as soon as we get it, but tentatively it is November the 1st and the 2nd. The next thing I want to talk about is the Art Commission, which we're starting. We will have our first meeting next week on February the 29th, leap year day, and we're looking forward to that, to bring art to the area and to get places and have things to where we may do murals or things of that nature, but just to bring in the art and the environment into the township. The last thing that I was a part of was the zoning board meeting, which the next meeting is going to be February the 22nd at 7 o'clock here. And there were basically 8 decisions that were worked at, where there were appeals for one particular person at 242 wanted a pool, and they're working on that. There was a decision about the Tredyffrin Easttown and Conestoga ordinance dealing with the variances of the fence and what type of fence it would be. There was also a part talking about the school, Tredyffrin Easttown Valley Forge Elementary School, to see about the building and putting in a new playground. There was also a variance at 757 West Lancaster, talking about 22 parking spaces where 42 are required, and the variance was granted. Also, the Berwyn Squash and Fitness, where they're talking about the outdoor pickleball courts. And the decision will be done at the February meeting that has not been approved as of yet. There was another one at 685 Tredyffrin Lane in Wayne, where a applicant would like to build his shed and have it go over the line, and that hearing is being appealed. And Paoli Shopping Center, where they're talking about changing the wall sign and making it 73.75 square feet, where 40 square feet is the maximum allowed, so that's something that is going to be talked about. And those are the things that I have as of right now. I hope to bring you more next month.
Thank you, Supervisor Johnson-Pugh. And now we go to the update for county bridge replacement on Thomas Road over Trout Creek. Colin Drager from SAI Consulting Engineers.
Hi, good evening. My name is Eric Quinn. I'm a Bridge Program Manager for Chester County. Can you hear me all right? There we go. Chester County owns and maintains 91 bridges throughout 44 municipalities within the county of Chester. I got to get really close to this thing. Or I can move it up, I guess, too. There we go.
Speak up, sir.
Can you hear me now? All right, here we go. The county is, thank you for your time tonight. The county is here to discuss the replacement of County Bridge 300, Thomas Road over Trout Run. We've got Sandy Martin with McCormick Taylor, the county's bridge engineer, to discuss the existing bridge. And we've got Colin Drager with SAI Engineering, who's going to discuss some preliminary concepts for the new bridge. Thank you. Sandy?
You got it? All right, good. Thanks, Eric. As Eric said, I'm Sandy Martin. I'm with McCormick Taylor. McCormick Taylor is a consulting engineering firm. Still further? Right there. How's that? I got to lean in too, huh? All right, I'll start over. My name's Sandy Martin, and I'm with McCormick Taylor. McCormick Taylor is Chester County's bridge engineer, so we're not the designer of the bridge, but we help the county manage their bridge program. So as Eric said, I'm going to give you a little information on what we call Chester County Bridge number 300. If you're not familiar with it, it's a concrete slab, a relatively small bridge in our bridge world, but it was built in 1925, and it crosses Trout Creek, and it's about 36 feet in length. The bridge is currently posted for 18 tons. It does allow some combination vehicles beyond 18 tons, but 18 tons in bridge world is about half of what we want. Legal loads and unposted bridge would be more near 40 ton. So it doesn't have nearly the capacity of a new legal bridge. The ADT, I know that's engineering speak, but the average daily traffic on the bridge is about 2,000 vehicles per day. And 4% of that is trucks. Now, hopefully not trucks over 18 tons, but we do have that problem as well. The bridge is scour critical. I think that's important to note. I think a lot of people know the waterways here in Tredyffrin. We have a lot of flooding issues and a lot of fast-moving waterways. What's no different here, but a scour critical bridge means that it either has a foundation type or a founding material type that is prone to scour, meaning the water can eat away at the stream bed and undermine the substructure. So that's an important issue for us engineers to worry about the longevity of the bridge. And we've had a history of maintenance issues at that bridge that we've had to remedy over the years. Another fun fact for engineers anyway, the superstructure, which is the load-carrying span of the bridge, and the substructure, which are the two abutments that hold up that load-carrying member, are both rated fair. They're not poor yet, but fair is the next step before poor. And then the current travel lanes are substandard. There's no existing silt shoulders, so the roadway geometry and some of the conditions out there for the traveling public is not as we would like for current standards. Do you have the clicker? Oh. So if you're not familiar with it by all those wonderful descriptions I gave you, this is a picture of the bridge. The first one on the left there is the approach to the bridge, and then the other one is the one we bridge inspectors get to see all the time, which is a profile standing in the creek. So it is a small bridge. You might not even notice it as you drive through. But you can see some of the deterioration on these photos, the crack in the parapet wall. The parapet wall is the side wall of the bridge, and then some of the deterioration on the fascia of the beam. And you can see a lot of the efflorescence. That's that white material that's coming down on the abutment walls, which means chlorides are getting into the concrete and seeping through the bridge. Okay, so that's the bridge as it is today. Colin's going to tell you a little bit about the bridge as they are proposing. SAI has been hired by the county to do a design of a replacement structure for that bridge.
All right, thank you so much, Eric and Sandy, and thank you to the Township for permitting us to be here today. So really the goal of why we're here today is, as they said, to put a preliminary engineering design in front of the Township and the project stakeholders, being the residents itself here, before our upcoming bridge and roadway submissions to PennDOT that'll ultimately go through an approval process. So nothing you see here today is set in stone. It is a work in progress as we move forward on this design. So as I noted, the plan is to replace this existing deficient two-span bridge with a new single-span structure and the associated Township roadway. The bridge is county-owned, but the roadway itself approaching the bridge is owned by the Township. So what you see in front of you here is what we call a construction plan, which shows that we are proposing approximately 200 feet of Thomas Road reconstruction that's shown in orange in that screen there, the red being the bridge itself and the orange being the approach roadway. We plan to widen the approach roadway from approximately 19 feet to a 25-foot width to meet current safety criteria. That process will require us to replace township-owned drainage features within the limits of that reconstruction. But we'll maintain the existing drainage concept, still outletting everything to the creek there, but we'll need to replace some of the features that we're impacting. Also, that will include replacing guide rail and associated safety features with the bridge itself. We will be maintaining the existing profile, the roadway vertical curve, as closely as we can. We're very close to matching existing, but minor driveway adjustments will be required to tie into that new roadway that's reconstructed there. You see on the right side of your screen there, that hatched area, that's just a 75-foot length of what we call mill and pave, just taking off the top surface of the pavement to tie in that new curb along the east side of the structure there. So looking, I suppose I should orient there, north is looking right to left, so up and down would be east and west. So that's the approach itself. Just to touch on utilities quick, they are not shown in color on this plan. However, we do have a large number of utilities associated with this project. We have overhead utilities, cable, electric, telephone along the west side of the structure on the bottom of the screen there, and also crossing the bridge on the south side. There's an apparent 8-inch diameter water main that goes under or through the bridge, still working to determine what the exact orientation of that is. Then there are township-owned utilities in the area as well, including sanitary sewer and storm sewer that may be impacted as part of the project. All or some of these utilities may require relocation to accommodate the new bridge. Touched on right-of-way really quickly here. So all Thomas Road deeds, all the property deeds for this stretch of Thomas Road are consistent with a 50-foot wide township right-of-way through this area. So you see that 50-foot width. Outside of that, you see some areas showing up in magenta or purple, and then outside of that, a little bit in yellow. Those magenta or purple areas there, that's about a 10-foot width of what we're calling required right-of-way. That would be right-of-way that the township and the county would acquire for access for maintenance of the new structure. As shown there, this is what we consider a conservative look at the required right-of-way. We hope to be able to neck those areas down and reduce what we ultimately need as required right-of-way to dedicate. But at this point, we are still working through those details, and we'll go through that process. So we are showing them in each quadrant of the project, primarily, again, for access down to the proposed structure in the new condition. Temporary construction easement, that's shown in yellow there. That's just a temporary access area that would be used during construction for material storage or E&S controls, temporary utility relocations, that sort of thing that would all be turned back to the property owner at the end of the construction process. So moving on from the construction plan, and again, or I should say, all three of these boards I'm going to show here today are out in the lobby, and we're happy to answer any questions anybody has either during the meeting here or afterwards. So moving on to the detour, and as I was talking to Stephen here just a few minutes ago, this is maybe one that's more subject to change than any of the others. We had vetted a few different detours prior to putting this board together, but there was a meeting yesterday about the current detours that are happening on Glen Hardy and Thomas Road with the Turnpike project. So take this for what it is for right now. Anyway, Sandy noted there was a 2,000 vehicles per day ADT on Thomas Road with 4% trucks. We had proposed a detour using Walker Road, Glen Hardy Road, and Gulf Road to match essentially the existing detour that the Turnpike project was using. But again, this is preliminary and it may be subject to change here. I should say, though, that the construction here is anticipated for 2026, which would follow all the Turnpike construction that's ongoing now, as well as a township planned project on Glen Hardy Road that is scheduled to commence after the Turnpike has cleared out of here. All right, so the last board I had for you, this is our structure plan, near and dear to my heart. The existing two-span slab, as we noted, is going to be replaced with a single-span structure. We hope that getting that center pier out of the waterway there is able to really increase our hydraulic efficiency, push more flow through, and hopefully avoid some of the issues we've had with the current structure, especially trapping debris and that sort of thing. The low chord, so the bottom of the beam, we expect to either match existing or be slightly increased from the existing condition. Again, another thing that's going to help us get more water through. And our hydraulic model that we have prepared for this structure is indicating we have no water surface elevation increases in our regulatory event. As we see there in the kind of the bottom right, that is a photo from a previous project that we've done just to try to give you a little sense of what the proposed bridge railing would look like. It will have a structural curb / railing. It's called a 10M is what we call it. But it won't be it's not expected to be a concrete parapet like the existing structure is. That was due to loading on the proposed beams and making sure we could maximize the span to the extent possible. And as we have noted, those scour issues at the bridge here, we are expecting scour protection rock to be placed to prevent scour of the new structure, and hopefully we can put these foundations deep enough so that we're not infringing on the hydraulic opening of the new structure to do that. So moving on, just to touch on some upcoming work. So as I noted, we are progressing towards what we call our structure TSNL, type, size, and location. That's what you see in front of you here. And our roadway safety review submissions that will be occurring with PennDOT in the coming weeks and months. We have ongoing environmental studies that some residents may have had going on in their properties. Geomorphology, archaeology can begin starting February 25th. So we'll have some small pits just to investigate some archaeology there. As well as a historic property in the southwest quadrant that we're still investigating as far as PennDOT is concerned. We do expect structure borings, so we're gonna take some borings to find the foundation material. Those will be in the coming months. Those will be scheduled in the coming months. And then we expect probably sometime in 2025 we may have some utility test holes to determine the depth of those water lines, sewer lines, that sort of thing, so we can be sure of where things are. As I said, the plan is to advertise our project to contractors in the fall of 2025 and then commence construction in 2026. The intent would be to keep that construction to a few months, hopefully during the school year, so they're not impacting any school bus routes. we have a smaller structure here, so we believe that should be something we can accomplish. So with that, as I said, I'm happy to take a couple questions. I know we have a long agenda here, so we don't want to take too much of your time. Also, we have a couple personnel here from SAI, as well as our environmental consultant, NTM, and then our county folks here that can help us out with any questions anybody may have.
Sure.
Great. Yeah, perfect. Thanks so much.
So I had a couple of questions, actually. Sure. Given that it's such a small bridge, potentially, you said it could take a few months to do the construction. I presume that means that you'd be fabricating it on site. Is there any option to fabricate it off-site, bring the pieces in and assemble it on site?
So we will have, so if you look at the top right of this particular slide here, what we call our typical section, those are pre-stressed concrete precast beams that will ship in here and then place a thin concrete deck on top. Prefabricated structures are certainly useful. What we would look at here, if we were looking at that, would be likely a twin cell box culvert that would be able to be shipped in and put in place. That would have a center pier in the proposed condition, which is something we're really trying to avoid with this project to minimize the debris trapping capability of the new structure.
Okay, thank you. And when you talk about pre-stressed concrete, is that just the deck, or are you also going to do pre-stressed concrete for the piers?
So the deck would be cast in place. So they will build the foundations cast in place with formwork, have beam seats. They would ship in the beams, place them there, and then have a 6-inch concrete deck that's cast in place on top of those beams.
But it's only the deck that's going to be pre-stressed?
The deck itself will not be pre-stressed.
Okay.
So there will be essentially reinforcement extending from the pre-stressed beams into that newly placed concrete deck to form what we call a composite structure that utilizes both the strength of the deck itself and the beams to increase our load carrying capacity.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a pedestrian lane here? I'm just looking at the width of it. Is it designed for pedestrians?
It is not designed for pedestrians. We've had some discussions about, because we know this is a heavily trafficked bike route, and there are, in times we've been out there are pedestrian traffic over there. There is no planned bike route or anything like that we're aware of or that we've discussed. That is why we wanted to, go to 10s and 2.5, make a 25-foot cartway there to make sure that we're at least increasing the safety for those that do cross the bridge.
Bikes, yeah, they see bikes in that neighborhood quite a bit. So.
Yeah, but going back to the hydraulics, given how hydraulically sensitive this area is, we're in what we call a FEMA Zone AE area. It's a detailed study area, which requires us to maintain existing water surface elevations. By lengthening the structure, that can really impact those conversations.
Okay, right there. And about how long do you think it takes to build it? Just how much disruption should people expect in their neighborhood?
Yeah, we expect, we have not prepared a detailed construction schedule at this point, given that we're still in preliminary engineering, but we would expect something of this nature to take, as far as a detour, I would estimate, 2 to 3 months likely for a bridge of this nature.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
A little more than that.
I would say 6 to 8 months. Because you have to lower your substructure, so 6 to 8 months.
Do I hear 4 months? Do I hear, no.
6 to 8 months of construction.
If you wanted to, because people do ride bikes and pedestrians, and you said it would have to be something because of the waterway with FEMA, can that be worked out and done? Because a lot of people do now ride bikes, and that would be a safety hazard if, something happened. I mean, how much, I guess, how much more would it take to get involved, get FEMA and have them to advise, because we'd like to have that, we may want to have that.
Yeah, and that's, it's a tough conversation because frankly, the bridge is part of a roadway, right? So we could widen the bridge to however we want, but if there's not a roadway, like if we're say there's 1,000 feet between Walker Road and the park, if we're only widening, 50 feet of that, we still have a safety hazard in the approaches. So we're trying to be, context sensitive and make sure that building a wide bridge and then having, narrow approach roadways also has a bit of an odd look, I guess, for, contextually. I think it's tough to answer your question specifically. It's not, we weren't looking into overwide structures to a large extent based on conversations we had with the township engineer and other parties.
Okay, I will say I'll table that back. I'm just wondering, though, in the process of doing it, can you see what, I'm just going to say maybe 5 feet or 10 feet, to be able to give that so that people who ride their bikes would still have that little bike spot and people walking, because I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's something we'll take back, and there's also things we can do with striping as well to, maybe so we're currently calling out 10-foot lanes, 2.5-foot shoulders, but maybe we can move the line striping around to make a wide shoulder on one side or something.
Just to add what he said, the county doesn't own the roadway, and basically our bridge connects whatever the roadway has from a standpoint of the facility. So if the township wants to put a bike lane on the roadway, and they give us a formal letter that there's a bike lane there, then we would match that, obviously, to accommodate what's already on the roadway. We accommodate the traffic that exists on the roadways. So at this juncture, there's nothing there to attach to. And we would need more from the township to say, yes, you are going to build a bike lane that then we would attach to. Because the bridge itself, what's your span?
30 feet, 29.
Yeah, but the 30-foot bridge, I'm sorry, the span though, the length is.
It's existing 30-foot, width, I'm sorry, 25-foot curb to curb.
Yeah, so the actual length of our bridge is very small on the scale of the roadway. So we'd need more from the township and your planning to tell us that, yes, you're going to have a bike lane, and then we would match that. Because it does affect our hydraulics, and we would need to know now, because as they design it, like you said, if he takes it too far out, we have to change the bridge to accommodate the flow of the water.
Okay, thank you.
Any public questions?
Yes, Laura, pleasure meeting
you. Just go to the microphone, yeah. And state your name, please. Yes, thank you.
I'm too little. Okay, better? Okay. Our property abuts the bridge, as you and I discussed on the phone.
So I'm sorry, ma'am, we just need your name and address. Excuse me? We just need your name and address for the record.
Laura Wampler, 1406 Thomas Road, Little Place Farm. Okay. I understood from our conversation this morning that this work was going to proceed this summer, but it sounds like it's.
No, so yeah, we're continuing engineering through the summer, and so we're in preliminary engineering right now, which will expire in August. We'll go through it, the next year of final design to finalize our contract documents, pull our specifications together. Construction would be 2026 is the plan.
Because I sent an email to our civic group, and there was concern from many people that this bridge would not be out the same time as the bridge over the Glen Hardy Road.
Correct. Yeah, so we'll be staging that after everything with the township is done on Glen Hardy.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
I apologize for the miscommunication.
If I could add something, this project has PennDOT funding, so everything that we do and the design that they create has to be done in accordance with PennDOT standards, and it also takes a lot more time to get through PennDOT reviews. So any kind of timeline we're providing tonight is contingent upon how those reviews go and how the wheel of government moves with PennDOT.
Okay, I'm the husband of Laura Wampler at the same address that you have. And we live right there where the bridge is. In fact, it's mainly on our property. And I got a couple questions for you. Going back to your drawing up there, the lower left, right now, the old bridge has 2 spans with a stanchion in the middle. It looks as if it's still going to have a stanchion in the middle. Is that correct? Yes.
No, I apologize.
That's what I don't understand. And lower right hand.
Correct. Yes. Yes. So that's shown as an existing pier. So we don't have a legend on there to show existing line work, but there will be no center pier in the proposed condition.
So it'll be a single span.
Correct.
Okay. Because the span in the middle catches debris. It has to be cleaned out at least once a year.
Right.
And what is the railing made of?
So that's a galvanized steel railing.
Okay. Don't have any inclination to make it a little more romantic, a little more Chester County? I'm sure it's a budgetary consideration.
That's absolutely something we can consider. There are what they call powder coatings for these sorts of things that you may see around the township. They may be painted brown, I think is the most common, but yes, absolutely something that can be considered.
Now, you say it's going to be wider than the existing bridge. How much wider?
So if you're talking about between the railings on the bridge itself, so it's about 19 foot wide currently. It'll be 25 feet in the final condition.
In the future, it'll be 25 feet?
Correct.
So that's another 3 feet wide, or, is that correct?
Correct, on each side, yep.
Okay. Is there a passenger walkway, a pedestrian walkway on the bridge itself?
No formal sidewalk, no.
But there's more room than there is now?
Correct.
Okay. Well, we'll welcome the disruption because that makes us on a cul-de-sac, and so there'll be no traffic at all for 6 to 8 months.
You're welcome.
Well, I like that. I like that part. Because Thomas Road, when we first moved there, was a country road. Now everybody from the other side of the park uses Thomas Road to get where they're going, and so the traffic by the house looks like Times Square. It really does. Okay, I think that's all the questions. We'd like a fancier bridge, more idyllic, but you got to do what you got to do. So, the height of the roadway. Do you intend to raise it at all, or will it be exactly where it is now?
It is within ½ inch of, I think, the entire stretch. We're going to within a ½ inch everywhere on our proposed profile. Yeah.
We won't object to a ½ inch.
Okay.
I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
The existing, the bridge width actually matches.
Please come up to the mic because
Do you have the
people from
mic?
home can't hear.
I'm sorry, Eric Quinn again. Just to clarify, the bridge width, the width that we're proposing actually matches or closely matches the width of the roadway up to the turnpike. Is that, am I correct with that, or are we a little wider than that, or?
You know, we'll get back to you on that one, Eric.
I'm asking my own guys.
Quick thing, Mike Heberg from Berwyn. You may be aware that 2026 is the 250th, and there's a lot of activity planned in the park during that time, so 2026 may not be the greatest time to have detours and disruption in that particular area. So just wanted to bring that to you.
Thank you.
That's a really good observation. Yeah, thank you. Any other public comments? Supervisor comments? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Now we have the Environmental Advisory Council's 2023 summary by Amber Levy.
These are my notes, so I'm just going to lay this right here. Yeah, thank you. Hi, I'm Amber Atwood-Levy. I am the Vice Chair now of the Environmental Advisory Council. Thank you for having me back again to present our annual review, and thank you for having me reschedule. It looks like we have a busy agenda tonight, so I appreciate the time tonight. Let me just kind of go through. If you folks haven't seen this before, each year the EAC likes to present the work that we've done in the past year to give the community an opportunity to see the work that's being done in the township, areas where you can get involved with volunteering programs that we run, educational programs that we run, as well as just give you a general idea of what's up with your EAC. We love kicking off the year with our MLK Junior Day of Service events. Last year we were at Wilson Farm Park and did a cleanup there and the PennDOT wetland that's located there. We pulled 20 bags of trash out with our 80 volunteers, many of whom were from the Conestoga JV and varsity basketball teams, the Stoga Key Club, New Eagle Elementary School, and Valley Forge Elementary Schools. Other event highlights from last year included a bluebird box installation. Thank you for the permission to install those blue boxes in Wilson Farm Park. The birds have found them, and as you can see, are bringing joy to the birders who visit the park already. And thanks to a generous donation, about 30 volunteers were able to plant 13 more trees last year in Wilson Farm Park. Many of them were Conestoga Key Clubbers. Our relationship with that student group has been really fantastic. They are an amazing group of kids, and they help provide manpower for a lot of the projects that we do throughout the township. And they always show up. So we are so grateful to have them. Those trees were installed along the walking trail, so they'll be providing afternoon shade along that trail in a couple of years. And we participated again in the Upper Main Line Wise Earth Day festivities, hosting an electric vehicle show. It's really exciting to see the diversity of vehicles in our township continue to increase. People have a lot of conversations, and we were happy to have that partnership with Umley again. Our Roots Festival this year, we raised about $1,000. We're so grateful for the support we've received from the community. We will be back again in September-ish, as Supervisor Basker mentioned. We haven't set the date for that yet, but we're looking to move that event up in September. The beer garden has been a great hit. The Bubble folks have been a lot of fun, and that money really helps enable us to get out there and do whatever programming we want to do and bring people in. So that support from businesses and donations from residents is really impactful for the work that we can do within the township. So thank you for that. Speaking of education that we have done, here's a little bit of snippets from some of what we did in 2023. We featured a new educational initiative on invasive weeds, specifically garlic mustard. In addition to pulling almost 20 bags of garlic mustard just from Krabby Creek Park alone, we posted a video on how to identify and remove this plant, because it's very easy to find in the spring, very easy to remove. Dr. Jonathan Wilson did this in one take. Actually, if you watch the video, it's still on our Facebook page. He did it in one take. It's really a remarkable skill set to be able to possess. And our other member, Eduardo Duenas, taught us how to make garlic mustard pesto from this. If you are interested in eating your weeds, that is also an option. There's a little bit of vindication too when you can eat your weeds, I don't know. We are happy to have collaborated on a grant from Essential with the Tredyffrin Library for a speaker series on rain gardens and water quality. That continues into this year. That has been a wonderful relationship, and we get to highlight, the educational rain garden that was installed near the entrance to the children's wing of the library. Speaking of rain gardens, we installed 4 more gardens last year throughout the township on homeowners' properties in our residential rain garden program. And we are currently accepting applications for spring installations for our final year of the rain garden program. We would plan to install 3 gardens in the spring and the fall, and we will be installing 1 more educational garden this year, and that will conclude our 3-year grants for this program. The QR code on the upper right has a link to our application, and that QR code in the bottom left-hand corner is actually a Google Map overlay, so you can see where the gardens are planted throughout the township. The application is posted on Facebook, and it is on our website as well. If you are interested in participating in that program, fill out the application, and we'll be in touch about how whether to do an assessment on your property. We had a lot of work at Krabby Creek last year. One of my favorite events was a collaboration between the EAC, Valley Forge Trout Unlimited, and a 4th and a 5th grade Girl Scout troop to study aquatic macroinvertebrates in Krabby Creek. Macroinvertebrates are a way to study your stream's health, and so those weird creepy crawlies in the ice cube tray on the right-hand side there are just a few of the critters that we found in the creek. It was a wonderful experience for everyone. The kids learned a lot, I learned a lot, and they did a tremendous job going out and collecting a lot of specimens for us to log and then release back into the stream. 2 additional studies were also conducted at Krabby Creek last year. Thanks to grant money, we were able to install a continuous data reporting monitor with Valley Forge Trout Unlimited. And we are tracking salinity and conductivity in the creek and are very grateful to the team of volunteers helping with the maintenance of this equipment, continue to help with the maintenance of this equipment. And the Haverford College Environmental Studies 204 class conducted water quality studies on salinity and conductivity, as well as a forest survey of 200 trees in the park. Krabby Creek is a stream of interest for reintroducing native brook trout, and these findings help support these ongoing studies in this very special place in the township. If you have not had the opportunity, the pleasure to take a quiet stroll through Krabby Creek, the town's park, it is a quiet and very unique place within the township, and I would encourage you to take a moment and put it on your must-visit list for 2024 because it's a very special place, and we are really excited by the work that we've been able to do there last year and look forward to continuing. The EAC is so proud of how smooth the implementation of the single-use plastic reduction ordinance was and has been. Thank you to business owners and residents for making this a smooth transition, and to our team over here for making this a really wonderful rollout. It's been great. The signage that has gone out has been incredible, and it's just been very well received ordinance, and we were thrilled that that was an accomplishment of last year. And speaking of accomplishments of last year, I think that many of us on the EAC, in addition to single-use plastics, would consider the passing of the Woodland Conservation Ordinance, one of the absolute highlights of 2023. 3 years or so in the making. We are thrilled that this ordinance is on the books. So thank you to everyone who is involved in that. That took a lot of work and effort, and what we have is wonderful. The information on the ordinance and the permit application is all available on the township website and readily available, and our fabulous Miss Erin is available for questions and as has been mentioned, wrote a wonderful article for our township newsletter. So we are ecstatic that that is up and running. We, for a second year, had Conestoga senior interns, Owen Conrad and Brian Harity, are off to college now, but they helped with all of our spring rain garden installations, worked on our residential solar brochures that are going out that will be used not just by our EAC, but other areas, groups within the county, and pulled lots of garlic mustard with me. And Brian even tried out the pesto recipe and helped with a lot of the events, including working with the Girl Scouts. So this has been a great ongoing program, and we enjoy very much our hosting these senior interns every year, or for these past 2 years. Sustainable PA certification was another highlight of 2023. This logo should hopefully be featured on our township website pretty soon. Our single hauler conversations that are ongoing will definitely help to increase our certification level. So we're excited to see where this continues, the trajectory that this is on as we continue to work to increase our sustainable PA certification. Which brings us to this year. Keeping up with our conversations on single hauler, recycling, compost, the work that we're doing monitoring Krabby Creek, the studies that are ongoing there. We have more works planned for the wonderful Wilson Farm Park and are very excited about a collaboration with the Historical Commission to develop a program on heritage trees throughout the township to help people connect not only with nature, but the significance and history of that nature in our place. And that's a little collaboration that I think is going to be a lot of fun. So so many people and organizations go into these successes. On behalf of the EAC, thank you all so much for your support. As you know, we have had a change in chair with Dr. Jonathan Wilson stepping into chair for 2024. So I'd also like to add a personal thank you to the board and staff for your support and encouragement these past 3 years. So thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to add, Amber, that we thank everything that you guys are, thank you for everything that you guys are doing. I mean, this is a volunteer board. Like they're doing this as volunteers and really accomplishing a lot for the township. So thank you for you and everything that your group is doing.
And thank you. It doesn't work if it's not on both ends. So thank you. Appreciate that.
Any other ask or anything else? Or?
No, I'd like to reiterate what I've said before, which is that, as the liaison to the EAC, it's a really high energy group and highly motivated, and I really enjoy working with them. So thank you, everyone, and thank you, Amber.
Thank you. With that, I need a motion to authorize the engineering department to advertise and receive bids for the Stafford Park Stormwater Improvement Project and for the Glen Hardy Road Bridge Replacement Project. Mr. Burgo.
Chairman Miller and members of the board, before you tonight is a request authorization for the engineering department to advertise and receive bids for the 2 engineering department projects for Stratford Park. It's a stormwater infiltration retrofit project underneath the existing gravel parking lot, and that will help reduce water runoff getting into the existing stormwater basin and downstream into Gulf Creek. As well as a project for Glen Hardy Road for the North Bridge over Trout Creek, the main branch. That particular project, the bridge had sustained some damages in 2023. We had to restrict the bridge to only 1 lane, reduce the weight carrying capacity of the structure. So we've been working, the board authorized us back in the summer of last year. We brought Michael Baker on and we've started design work. So at this point, we're finishing up the plans and getting the bid packages ready to advertise in March. So we're asking for the board's authorization tonight to advertise those projects. Just as an FYI, those are both included in the 2024 capital budget.
Thank you. And are those both 2024 projects? We expect you to start them this year?
Yes, we expect Stratford Park to start later this summer and Glen Hardy Bridge as well. So,
thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any board comment?
Yes. I guess it's more of a question. With the ARPA funds that we had received, we had designated some of those funds to go towards repaving that parking lot. I know you called it a gravel one, Mr. Burgo, but really it's asphalt. It's just gotten so chewed up over the years that it's a lot of gravel, and we had wanted to repave that. So once this project is completed, then will we be able to repave that parking lot?
it will be resurfaced at the end of the project. We'll be taking up that broken up asphalt gravel that's there today, and we install the system underneath. It will be replaced with a new paved asphalt surface.
So that's part of this project?
That's part of the project, yes it is.
That's terrific, thank you very much.
And will that surface be porous, or?
That was the intent right now, to look at a porous surface. We have a lot of other stormwater projects that have gone in the library in that park area. So we have a wetland basin, we have a green roof on the library, the rain garden at the EAC installed, and we have an underground infiltration system in the back of the children's area of the library that was put in when they did the addition years ago. So we have a lot. So it's like a nice little, almost like a stormwater BMP park there. There's all kind of different things to see there.
No, that's great, thank you. Other comments, anybody? Public comments? All right. With that, we have a motion and a second, so do I hear all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion. Motion to adopt Resolution 2024-09 for the Valley Forge Sewer Authority Act 537 Plan Special Study. Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Chair Miller. Before you tonight is a resolution on behalf of an Act 537 Plan Special Study. This is a result of a work that the Valley Forge Sewer Authority has been doing. There's a number of municipalities that are members of that need additional capacity. So that as part of this process, they were looking at possibly purchasing some excess capacity from Tredyffrin Township and looking to re-rate the existing wastewater treatment plant. As part of that process, that's why they would have to do a new Act 537 Plan Special Study specifically for those purposes. If that does not come to fruition, the other option is they would look to increase a third aeration tank and do a more traditional capital project at the plant. This item has been discussed by the municipal authority. The current chair, Mr. Heberg, is there if you have additional questions. It was also at the Planning Commission and recommended to the Board of Supervisors to move forward with this part of the process. All member municipalities have to approve of the plan special study, which will then go to the Department of Environmental Protection for further review and comment, and then come back once they have completed the study. We're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any board comment or questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Will the participating municipalities be called upon to contribute the funds?
If it ends up going a more traditional capital route, yes. So that's
No, I mean even for the study, though. Even for the study.
Oh, yeah, we're all members of the Valley Forge Sewer Authority, so we all pay into this.
Do we know what that number is? I forget. I read the thing. I don't think we had a firm number. I'm just saying.
Yeah, the engineers have already completed their work. It goes to, so it's part of their annual budget, which is approved by the member municipalities. It's a line item in the operational budget.
Okay,
Yep.
got it.
Good, Mike, why don't you? Yeah.
Well, there's the man.
Yeah, he's got this.
He's got it.
Mike Heberg from Berwyn. The number that's in the what's been proposed is engineering not to exceed $75,000. So it's a relatively minor cost, and that's split between essentially 8 municipalities.
Thank you, Mike. Any other board comments? Any public comments? This is a roll call vote. Supervisor Humble.
Aye.
Supervisor Holt.
Aye.
Supervisor Gussie.
Aye.
Supervisor Wysocki.
Aye.
Supervisor Bhaskar.
Aye.
Supervisor Johnson Pugh.
Aye.
And I vote aye, and motion carries. Motion to approve the sale of alcohol during specified 2024 Township community events. Mr. Duraco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Staff's asking for authorization and approval to have alcohol sales at the following events for 2024. Both are movie nights, one in May and one in September. The summer concert series, as well as Community Day. And this was consistent with 2023's request.
Thank you. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any board comment? The only thing I will say is I think the first time we did this, I asked more questions than anyone else, and I've been very happy with how well it's worked for the township. Any public comment? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Motion to adopt the 2023 Subdivision and Land Development Activities Report as required by the municipality's planning code. Mrs. McPherson.
Thank you, Chairman Miller, members of the board. Yeah, the Planning Commission Activities Report is something that is required by the MPC. We do it every year. It just kind of goes through the list of items that the Planning Commission has dealt with from 2023. That report was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission at their January meeting.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, any board comment? Any public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Motion to approve the developer agreement and financial security agreement and stormwater best management practices operations and maintenance agreement for Kinder Care Learning Company's Devon Village 1681 statutory trust at 849 Lancaster Avenue. Mr. McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a land development project that was given preliminary final approval in November of 2023 by the Planning Commission. It's a rather minor project in terms of the overall site, which is, you probably know, is the Whole Foods site and where the Starbucks is. Kinder Care was removing a couple of parking spaces, adding some area for the dumpster, but mainly adding a playground area for the project. So we have drafted for you the standard form of the agreements to be approved tonight so they can move forward and record the plans and move forward with their project.
Thank you, Mr. McKenna. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Can I hear a second?
Second.
Any board comment? Any public comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, motion carries. Motion to approve the following ESCO releases. Mr. Burgo.
Chairman Miller and members of the board, two releases are on for a partial release this evening. One for the Swedesford Road apartment complex, which is the Echo development at the intersection of Swedesford Road and Contention Lane in the amount of $863,077.53. There is a balance that will remain until they're finished with the remainder of their project. As well as one for Chestnut Associates LP. This is the Chestnut Road apartment complex, the 17 apartments on Chestnut Road. That is in the amount of $64,571.24. There is a balance remaining. These projects have been inspected, and the items that are on for release this evening are a variety of site improvements. They are recommended to the board for release.
Thank you, Mr. Burgo. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion.
And do I hear a second?
Second.
Any board comment or question? Public comment or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve the Memorandum of Understanding and Agreement between Tredyffrin Township and the Chester County Emergency Response Committee for the implementation of an emergency response team K-9 program. Mr. Duraco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is something that I've been working on with the solicitor for a few months now, just going back and forth between ourselves and the solicitor for the emergency response team. This is for implementation of a K-9 program. Obviously, the solicitors reviewed it. I've had our insurance company also review it. They gave their blessing, and so we're looking for authorization so that way we can get this program underway.
Thank you, Mr. Duraco. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any questions from the board? Public comment or question?
Mike Heberg from Berwyn. I'm just wondering if, this is the first I've heard of this, and I don't know that it's been discussed at prior public meetings, but maybe someone can give us an outline on what the purpose of it is, what the objectives are of the program, what the cost is, what personnel might be required, training, et cetera.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
The interesting thing about this is it's not a patrol dog situation. The officer who the dog will be assigned to is already a member of the SWAT team, so his training will not cost the township any more than it already does, because his canine training, the training he does with the SWAT team with the dog, will serve as his training. The primary training was already completed back in May, if I'm correct. The vehicle that's being used is all being funded by the Emergency Response Committee. So the cost to the township is very minimal.
And so basically, it's a Tredyffrin officer who will be handling the dog, but it's part of the SWAT team, and so this MOU, I'm going to say it all wrong, but basically says that it's, and the SWAT team is not the official name, but but the CCERC, yeah, they are handling basically almost everything for it.
They'll handle the cost, the care of the dog, food, insurance, all that. We're fully indemnified from a legal standpoint. Additionally, there is some cost that we have to incur in terms of paying the officer for training time, but that is going to be reimbursed by the team as well. So as the captain mentioned, the cost to us is generally just the same cost as having him on the team, which is something, we all share in.
Yeah, I will comment that I did look at the agreement, and I was actually impressed with the fact that all the I's seem to have been dotted and the T's crossed in terms of who's responsible for what, and so, it's a well-written agreement.
When I first heard this, I had the same questions you had, Mr. Heberg, and I said, wow. And then when I heard more about it, I said, this is an opportunity. We should do this. And here we are, having worked it out with the Emergency Response Committee, and this is a good thing. It's a good thing. So sometimes things work out.
Basically, for a fairly minimal cost, we get a significant capability that we could use if we had an emergency that needed it. So it does seem like a win for all of us. I think we're all in favor of doing something like this. Any other public comments?
And we did vote on I can't remember exactly what the vote was, but sometime last year was our first vote on this. So this isn't the first time it's come to the board.
Oh, yeah, there's been a bunch of discussions, yeah. But it's worth talking about because it's an interesting thing, right? I mean, it just is an interesting thing. All right, with that, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Motion to approve a memorandum of understanding with the Tredyffrin Township Police Association. Mr. DeRocco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is associated with the canine as well. Again, it just outlines how the officer is going to get a half an hour a day, 4 days a week for care of the dog, and how that will be paid, and just outlines those responsibilities.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. DeRocco. I think we read all these pretty detailed agreements. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Any board comment or questions? Public comment or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to authorize staff to advertise and receive bids for the 2024 Super Pave project. Mr. Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Staff is requesting the board approval to put the 2024 Super Pave program out to bid. This year we'll be repaving approximately 7 miles of township roads. Once we get it authorized, we can put it out on pen bid. We'll be asking the board approval with the lowest qualified bidder in April.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgerald. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any board comment? Any citizen comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to authorize staff to advertise and receive bids for paving of Continental Boulevard. Mr. Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staff is also requesting the board approval to put out the milling and paving of Continental Boulevard. That'll be from Cedar Hollow Road to the private property gate. Since this isn't in our liquid fuels list, it is required on a separate bid. Once authorized, we'll advertise it on pen bid and ask the board approval with the lowest qualified bidder in April.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion?
Motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any board comment?
I have one question. I know last year we had taken up prohibiting parking by the trucks along Continental Boulevard, and I'm just wondering, are we paving because it's been damaged because of the extra truck traffic, or is this the regular course of business?
Just a regular course of business. The road is in very bad shape, and unfortunately it's not on our liquid fuels list, so we can't use our liquid fuels funding.
I'll just chime in real quick. That being said, we are able, because we normally, again, we see this as essentially a driveway for the one property at the back. And working with the solicitor, we would normally try to vacate this road because it really serves no purpose to the township. We're not going to be able to do that in this instance, partially because the railroad would have to take ownership of half, and then they'll never agree to do so. But that being said, we'll be able to assess the property owners with the frontage on Continental for the paving of the road. So we will reimburse some of the costs, or all of them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeRocco. Any other board comment? Citizen comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to authorize staff to advertise and receive bids for paving of Church Road. Mr. Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This will be our last paving memo for the night. We're requesting approval to put out for the milling and paving of Church Road from Sweetster Road to a point just past the intersection of Dixon Lane. Since this roadway paving is from the sanitary sewer main replacement, it requires a separate bid. We are planning to put this paving out with the Continental Boulevard in the same bid. Once authorized, we will, through Penn bid, we will be bringing this forward in April for the lowest qualified bidder. We also did get some money back from the contractor for the work that was done, so it's not going to all be done with township funds.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgerald. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Hear a second?
Second.
All right, any comment from the board? Any citizen comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to authorize capital purchase of mechanic's truck. Mr. Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Staff is requesting board approval for the purchase of a new mechanic's truck to replace a 2006 Ford F-350 utility truck. The total of this truck is $127,499. This truck will be a new 2023 Ford F-550 with a utility body, snowplow, compressor. We're requesting 3 separate approvals because it was a unique situation for us to be able to purchase this. The first will be the chassis, which is CoStar's purchase through Pacifico Ford in Philadelphia for $67,855. The second approval is for the body from the East Whiteland Fire Company in Fraser, PA for $17,500. And the third is the installation and outfitting of the body and accessories from Intercon Truck Equipment from Aston, PA for $42,144 under the CoStars program. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgerald. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any comment from the board or questions?
I do have a question. Can you tell me, was there no Ford dealership out in the township that we could have went to versus going into the city on Essington Avenue to get it at Pacifico? Is there any?
There is nothing in the area that is a CoStars dealer close by. Actually, this truck chassis is sitting down at Intercon now because they just left the chassis there. For us to order a chassis now will take anywhere from 8 months to a year is what we've been encountering. So it just happened to be on the lot.
Thank you.
Any other board comment? Citizen comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to approve quote from Great Valley Lock Shop for retrofit of front doors for administration building for ADA conformity. Mr. Duraco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a request to essentially add ADA accessibility to the front doors. They're heavy, they're cumbersome, and this would allow us to have both entrance and both exit on the front doors in use with a ramp, the ADA ramp. The cost is $21,073.58 and is covered by it's a CoStars vendor. Happy to answer any questions.
I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any questions from the board?
I just want to say thank you.
Any citizen questions?
I'd like to just make one more comment. This is, we've talked about this for a while, and we've done everything else that we were supposed to do out there. No question about that. And this has been discussed over time, and I'll just say that I'm glad we're doing it tonight, and I'll just leave it there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Supervisor Oisaki. Any citizen comment? All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to authorize capital purchase of bypass pump for the sewer department. Mr. Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Staff is requesting board approval for the purchase of a 4-inch quiet design bypass pump for sanitary sewer emergencies. With the upgrade of our pump stations, Some are already equipped with this bypass connections. This pump will allow us to deploy the pump quickly should a pump station fail and allow us to pump through the existing force mains. We'll also use this pump if a gravity line fails by pumping around the affected lines to maintain normal flows. The pumping with the township will save numerous hours while we're waiting for the rental companies to bring one out to us. We will still need to rent a backup pump for longer duration emergencies, but this will limit the contamination into the environment. The pump, all necessary fittings, hoses will be purchased from Xylem under the CoStars program for $77,017.17. And the sizing and the pumps and hoses have been recommended and approved by our sanitary sewer engineers at Brown and Caldwell. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Fitzgerald. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any questions from the board? I have a question. How often do we use this kind of pump? Like how common is it?
Probably 2-3 times a year. It depends on the emergencies we have. Unfortunately, some of our pump stations weren't equipped. We're slowly starting to get them equipped with the bypass connection, so we'll be able to use them more often.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Any public comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to authorize capital purchase of grinder for Church Road Pump Station. Mr. Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Staff is requesting board approval to purchase a new grinder and motor for the Church Road Pump Station. The grinder wasn't included in the upgrades that were done last year, and it has failed with the continuous use of the flushable wipes. The cost to replace this grinder is $27,000 from MGK Industries under the CoStars program. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Hear a second?
Second.
Any board comment?
Yeah, I would like to just comment, which is that, it's frustrating that people keep flushing those so-called flushable wipes that cause problems for our sewer operators. They're called flushable, they're not flushable. I know that people got into the habit during the pandemic of flushing them, and I really would appreciate it if the residents stopped doing that.
Thank you, Supervisor Bhaskar. Any public comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve operating quote from Dukes for root control in sewer system. Mr. Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Staff is requesting the approval of having our annual root control of our sanitary sewer lines done. This year is 1,300 feet. This work will be done by Dukes, who has been doing our program for many years. The service comes with a 3-year guarantee, and this year's service would be $25,062.52 and is done through the CoStars program. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Fitzgerald. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any supervisor questions or comments? Any public comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve the developer agreement, financial security agreement, and stormwater best management practices operating and maintenance agreement for Delaware Valley Friends School. Mr. McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Similar to the agreements that you approved earlier for KinderCare, we have in front of you the developer agreement, financial security agreement, and stormwater O&M agreements for the Delaware Valley Friends School. This project received final land development approval from the Planning Commission in June of 2023. The project is broken down into phases. They're going to be Phase 1A, Phase 1B, and Phase 2. What's in front of you this evening is for the first phase, Phase 1A, so that they can begin to install some of the major improvements on the property. Counsel for the applicant is present if you have any questions, but otherwise we recommend approval of the agreements that are in front of you this evening.
Thank you, Mr. McKenna. Do I hear a motion?
Motion.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any board comment? I know a lot of work went into this, by the way. This is a big project at the end of it. Any citizen comment?
Yes, sir. Good evening. My name is Bill Connolly. I live at 1318 Summerhill Drive in the Summerhill neighborhood. On February 29th, I'll celebrate, along with my wife, our 20th year in the township. Although we moved in on Leap Day, so maybe it's our 5th year in the township. I'll leave that to brighter minds. Sitting through items A through U tonight, I'm reminded of my late brother-in-law, Bob O'Leary, who many of you knew. He worked on Township Matters for many years. He would have loved all of this. I'm also on the Board of Trustees at Delaware Valley Friends School, and so I'm just coming tonight to say thank you. This is a big deal for us. It's a big deal for the people we help, the kids we help. It's an amazing blessing to have this school. You can tell I get choked up every time I come here and talk about it because I sent my oldest son through Conestoga. He's a happy, healthy junior at the University of Notre Dame. My younger son, David, needed more. He was not going to college until he found DV Friends. We just got back from visiting 2 days of colleges with him. He's going to college, and that school is 4 miles from our house. The township has been amazing. You know, it is a big project. It's a heavy lift. People had to pay attention to us and help push the football forward. And again, I just want to say thank you to everybody. Obviously, we couldn't have done it without you. It means a lot to us. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much. With that, any other public comment? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. That concludes business for tonight. Are there any supervisor new matters? Any citizen new matters? With that, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Yes. HR 477.
So basically, any public comment at this time?
Any public comment, yeah.
Not, if there's anybody that has public comment.
Yeah, anything that was not on the agenda.
HR 477. How is it okay with very...
Sorry, sir, we need just your name.
Bill Curry, Paoli. How is it okay with very little notice to the township residents to increase our taxes by 46% in 1 year?
What do you mean by very little notice? We had probably 4 public meetings. We spent 3 years on a citizens stormwater advisory task force. We had, many meetings to talk about this before it was increased.
Would a letter to all the residents been worth a 46% increase in taxes? I get this 4 times a year from the township. Would a half-page article saying that we're going to increase your taxes by 46% been worth it? Just ask me. I'm retired. It's a big increase. I understand the need for stormwater management and EMS services. I do. I assumed that the general fund was covering those expenses in the past. And I thought when you separated them out, the general fund would have been reduced. It wasn't. And that's what I'm disappointed in. I made that assumption, shame on me, but why wasn't the general fund reduced when you moved out the $3.3 million from the general fund?
Most of those costs were not covered in the general fund. Just one example would be volunteerism for the volunteer fire companies has been down 46% from 2019 to last year. So volunteers are free labor. Suddenly they have to pay for their labor. That's a dramatic increase in their costs. And that's just for people to fight the fires and show up for the emergency, for ambulance calls. So that's money that has to come from somewhere. It's not coming from donations. And so we, as a township with Easttown, made the decision to increase that we need to support those services, and those are required services for the township. That's one example. Stormwater, before we implemented the stormwater fee, we did not have a budget for stormwater. We had a de minimis amount of money was being spent on maintaining our infrastructure and for new projects. So this was, that took a multi-year effort to identify the project, come up with what we thought was a reasonable amount of money that we needed to spend to both maintain our infrastructure and start to improve some things in the township. And that was what we decided. I understand that the 46% is a nice dramatic number to throw out there. Our taxes are relatively low compared to surrounding communities. So the average tax increase is less than $300 a year per household in the township. So while the percentage is high, I get that. I'm not disputing that at all. The absolute quantum of dollars is a relatively small number, given what we're getting for that number, which is sustainable emergency services and a budget that's going to improve the stormwater situation in the township. We had extensive discussions. I apologize that there are people who don't feel like they were informed as well as they could have been.
Well, obviously, there's very few people here tonight. I thought there'd be 1,000 people here tonight, asking the same questions.
There haven't been that many.
So in December, the township was awarded a $2.2 million grant for stormwater management projects. Why wasn't that used to offset the burden to the taxpayer?
We regularly go for stormwater grants, and we've been very successful. Steve Berger, our engineer, is regularly applying for grants. So we factor that in for the fee. We went through this past year a stormwater analysis with a consultant to determine that number, and that was actually with citizens to work through kind of the right number, and it factors in, like our whole capital plan actually relies on getting grants.
Yeah, and if you want to reach out to myself and Pat, we can give you a link to the information of how the stormwater fee was put together and all the documents that went through those public meetings. We'd be happy to share that with you and answer any specific questions. But that grant, yeah, that's one of many capital projects. They're in the long-term plan, and it goes into an overall calculation of how that number was calculated in terms of paying that and operating services and capital over a 10-year period. So we can definitely get you the link to information from all the presentations if that would be helpful for you.
But couldn't that have been used to offset some of the tax burden you just put on us?
So the grants did in some ways offset that cost, right? So that's already built in. I mean, these are very, very expensive long-term projects, right? So they're...
But the capital projects, right?
Capital and operating, that goes into the overall fee. So we can, like I said, we can give you all the detail on how that was calculated and all the things that went into it. There were assumptions for grants as well as bond issuances and all those things that go into the calculation for that.
Supervisor Holt, I want to thank you for your nay vote. It's a shame other members of the board didn't go along with you. I think there's better ways of doing a 46% increase in 1 year. That's just too much. It really is too much.
Sir, could you restate your name and your address? I didn't catch it the first
Bill
time.
Curry, 1774 Jennings Way, Paoli. This publication goes out to everybody in the township. There should have been something in here saying we're going to be doing this. And I think you had much better attendance last August, September, October, November, December. It's a shame you didn't take advantage of that, that vehicle. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Dan Sinney, Boris Blumen Circle in Berwyn. I just wanted to stand up, and I know I've been an advocate of helping with the stormwater management. It directly impacts. There's some other folks here that are impacted by the stormwater destruction on our property. So I wanted to thank Mr. Burgo and the folks here and the board for the project and voice our support for the Bear Road project. I know there was some pushback on that. And I don't know if any of those folks are here, but I would love to speak with them a little bit, show them some of the destruction that's happened. We're very thankful that that's happened. And I know I've been an advocate and often pushing back on a lot of the things that are going on. I wanted it faster, but I think it's a start to start the stormwater here. Separate issue from the tax situation. My only ask with the tax situation for the storm, like related to stormwater, that would be like transparent, that this is for stormwater, this is for general funds. It's just food for thought. But I know that there are some folks that have pushed back on that project and love to make sure that they can understand the destruction and the cost and all the safety issues that have happened on Spoonwood Circle and Contention and downstream. It's destroying properties, right? So I know there's been a lot of back and forth on that, but I wanted to say thank you for that. And we also still need to do more. We need more funding to really stem this. I know this is going to reduce some of that, but there's still a lot of issues going on, and to do that as responsible as possible. Thanks.
No, thank you. Just to clarify on the taxes, they are identified separately. So there's a separate line item for stormwater and a separate line item for emergency services. They go to those dedicated budgets. So the new taxes are not commingled with the general fund tax.
That's great.
They're dedicated to those specific things. Yeah, just so you know.
No, it's good to hear. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, and thank you for your support. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, now I think we did have a motion in a second. Yeah. So all in favor, say aye. 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 Thank you very much.